Women Who Rock with Success is a digital media brand for professional women. Our platform offers opportunities to expand the performances of women within our media sources. Our platform include media TV, digital podcasting, and printed media. Genres for women include business and marketing, cooking, health and fitness, fashion and interior designing, sports, travel, and policy and government. Women Who Rock with Success is ready to brand your model of business and entertainment for success.
And good morning and welcome to Women Who Rock Investigates. Thank you for tuning in with us. We had a fabulous show at 9 o'clock with Women Who Rock with Success. So thank you for tuning in with our investigation channel on today. We have some impeccable guests that's going to be able to help us in blended families, interracial couples. And then also we're going to talk about some of the incidents that occurred with the 6-year-old child that shot the school teacher on last week or the other day. And so we always put disclaimers on all of our media, so to make sure that all of our guests are protected. Okay, so once again, welcome all of our panel, and we're going to welcome and introduce all of our guests to our panel this morning. So first we have Dr. Lombardi, and I know she wants us to refer to her as Josie. She's also a theologian, and she has other talents that I can be talking probably for the next 2 or 30 years. And so we're going to welcome her to the show this morning. And then also we have Darlene Taylor, and she's a co-parent and she's a specialist in this area as well. And then we also have Inma Gonzalez, and she's a coach specialist. And then I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves to the audience so they can be able to get a better description of their occupation. So we're going to first start with Dr. Lombardi. So tell us a little bit about you.
All right. Okay. I'm so happy to be here. It's such an important topic. So I'm an assistant dean at a Roman Catholic seminary in Toronto, Canada. And I'm also a professor of theology. So as a theologian, I teach pastoral and systematic theology, but I also have a background in faith coaching and counseling and working with families. And in particular, blended families for sure, in helping them kind of navigate all the challenges that come with their unique family experience. And also in the past, I worked with youth, at-risk youth, and campus ministry. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. So Darlene.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. My name is Darlene Taylor. I'm a therapist turned coach, really. Okay. And so I work with people kind of working with and figuring out their innate gifts and strengths and helping them become the very best versions of themselves. That's really, I've done a ton of different things over the course of my career, but really the through line of that is about helping people grow through self-discovery and education and coaching. So that's kind of my spiel. I have a master's degree in social work. I earned that from University of Cincinnati, and I spent about 10 years working as a therapist. And then I also spent about 12 years teaching women and gender studies at University of Cincinnati. So that's the education piece as well. I still love that. And so most recently, I wrote a book about co-parenting after divorce. It's called It's Not About Us, a co-parenting survival guide to taking the high road. And so that book really has kind of shifted my coaching focus to working with parents to help raise the healthiest, best kids that they can, even if their relationship didn't last. So that's kind of my focus now. And I live in Los Angeles. I'm excited to talk about this topic. I have both professional and personal experience working, being in an interracial marriage and raising biracial children, and also being a part of a blended family. So I have lots of excitement around this topic. So I'm just really excited to be here. So thank you.
Okay, perfect. And thank you for joining us, and all of you all accepting our invite. And so Inma, go ahead.
Well, thank you for inviting me, first of all, and I am also delighted to be here and to share with you professionals about these topics. Professionally, they are very interesting for me as well, because both of them have higher rates of divorce as in other types of relationships and marriages. But I really believe that with the right support, they can create beautiful families. Mm-hmm. So I'm very happy to be here to listen to you and to provide some information as well. Okay. I support families and couples and individuals who are going through separation or divorce. I support parents as well to co-parent or to deal with the new life with as a single parent.
Mm.
And I started to create podcasts the last year as well as another way and more extensive way to help people not to feel alone and to understand what they are feeling and experiencing when they are going through a separation or divorce. And also they can do a little bit of self-coaching themselves, because what I've learned after this feedback from the podcast is that emotions and pain are universal.
Mhm.
They are sending messages from everywhere, and everybody, independently of the circumstances, they are feeling the same thing. So I think it's a very good area that we have this social media to expand and to support through that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Love your accent. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so first we're going to get started. Sometimes, a lot of times we hear different things on the news. We hear different things. We read different things in the articles, and people may not have the full understanding of what it is. So we're going to start with Josie, and we're going to define what blended families is. What is a
Okay.
blended family?
All right. So, like Darlene, I am in a blended family too, and my oldest daughter is in an interracial marriage. And so I am going to refer to the research if your listeners are interested. There is a researcher in the US, her name is Elizabeth Einstein, and her expertise is in the area of step blended families. So in my book, Experts in Humanity, I do refer to her research. And she says, so I'm quoting Elizabeth Einstein, you are in a step blended family if, 1, you are remarried and or one or both of your children in or out of the home. You are divorced with children and your ex-spouse is remarried. So even if you have not remarried, but if your former spouse or partner is in a new relationship, you are in a step blended situation.
Wow.
Your new spouse has children, any age counts, even if you don't. You have grandchildren from an adult child who is divorced, remarried, or whose ex-spouse or former spouse is remarried. You have a family member in any of the above situations. So it doesn't just apply to the person who's sadly their marriage has broken apart, or they've lost a relationship with a former partner. It's anyone in your extended family, because sometimes this applies to step grandparents, because sometimes there's issues there around step grandchildren not feeling welcome, or so it applies to the extended family. So anyone in your extended family who's in this situation, you are in a step blended family.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. So, Inma, you are going to represent us as maybe our legal liaison today on the broadcast, okay? So here's the first scenario, and this is actually live. This is actually reality. This is actually what happens. So you have this mother, she gets into a relationship. This is not basically, well, it's blended. She gets into a relationship and she's going through several relationships. But after reviewing some of it, I think one of the husbands, the child was 8 years old and could not connect with the stepfather. So here's the question: how important? And of course, she got a divorce from him, and then she got a divorce from another one, and got a divorce from another one, because the children cannot be able to engage or connect with these spouses that she has. So we want to talk about that. How important is it for the couple to sit down? Look, we're dating. Let's introduce my date to my children. Let them get connected with each other. Let's maybe go out to dinner, to the park, or to the zoo or something. Because just think about it. The child is grown now. I think she's about 23, but she's traumatized. She's traumatized behind her mother's other relationships, and they were all stepfathers.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's very important to understand when you are a mother. We have here two situations. One is maybe your joy or your excitement about finding new love again, or feeling loved again, especially if you have gone through difficult situations. And it is really nice and exciting for you. But at the same time, it's so important and it's key, it's vital to understand what your child is going through. Because everybody's coming, in blended families, everybody's coming from a loss. So this child has lost someone as well in the middle. So we don't know what happened with this father. Maybe he died, or maybe his biological father, or he disappeared, or he's there in somewhere, but he has lost. And for him, it's really difficult to understand his worth, his value, his power. He's being invaded as well. So I think time to adjust, vital, is key. When someone wants to start a new relationship and is going to introduce this new person in the child's life, time to adjust and time to bond, time to connect. It doesn't happen spontaneously. We form relationships with time, and we need motivations, we need motives, we need grounded in common as well to connect, and desire to connect. And we need to respect as adults as well where this child is. And this is the first thing to do, and to communicate as well. So this person is not going to replace anybody. This person is going to be an addition to your life. If this is the right person, of course, but continues having different adults, confusing and scary for children.
Absolutely, because today I think she got married. The daughter got married in 2020. But sometimes when you try to offer advice to an individual, I think I went to the mother, actually probably about 20 years ago, and I told her, I said, now this is going to be a problem. If you sitting here, she said she can't connect with him and things like that, and then she end up in divorcing him. And then here goes another one. So throughout this child's life, she has seen different partners with her mother, even though they're married and what have you. But just, and the daughter is married today, but I'm pretty sure that still resonates in her mind as to, because the mother is supposed to be setting I would think so, supposed to be setting an example. You have 3 to 4 husbands, but you cannot maintain one.
And a safe environment as well, which probably as a child, having different adults in her life was not feeling very safe in emotionally, and supported as well. So learning that.
And sometimes we try to hide behind religion. We do. And so this is a very highly motivated, Pentecostal, moving, clap hand, speaking in tongue, a family. I'm serious, the whole family is, but there was nothing, seems like no one could find the answers for their daughter to be able to sit down and say, look, you need to stop this. You need to look, and sometimes you have to pull people aside and mentor them. Look, this is husband number 2, and your child is still growing. And as Emma said, there's no safety. The child I'm pretty sure didn't feel secure about that. And so I think that can cause people to separate and go to divorce. So that's the reason why I asked you the question, Emma, because that's your expertise when it comes to separation and divorce. Sometimes blended families will be the top priority as to why some marriages fail, even if I think it's communication too. Sit down and talk to your child. Good grief. But anyway, I'm not here to judge. Like I said, I wish you the best. I looked on a Facebook page, and I think the 3rd or 4th husband, I think they're separated. And I'm like, okay, I don't think you're getting it. But and I hope that and we have to have a listening ear too. We have to listen when someone is trying to offer, constructive criticism, I guess. maybe I may have came off a little bit harsh to her, what have you, but I just told her, I said, you got a problem here. And that was like 20 years ago. So thank you so much for that, Emma. So we want to go to Darlene, and we want you to hit on that topic as well. We want to talk about blended families in your experience in your profession, and as to how you deal with your clients in your own personal experience as well.
Yeah, I think this is, it's a scary topic. I think, what a lot of what Inma said is, about this kids feeling safe and secure in a situation. I think sometimes as parents as well, we don't do a great job of communicating with our children. Sometimes we're just like, this is grown people's business, and we just kind of herd the kids along and expect for them to just sort of fall in line with what we're doing. And I think that's one of the most damaging things that we can do. I think that what I've seen in clients and what I've seen in my friends, and honestly the way that I parent as well, is to have more open lines of communication with our children and offer them some vulnerability and ask them how they're feeling about things. This is the person that this is a person that I'm in a relationship with. Like Inma said, reiterating they're not taking anyone's place, but I'm hoping, and kind of asking them, inviting them into the relationship with you. I'm hoping that you will, when the time is appropriate and feels right for you, be able to open your heart to this person. And so you're not pressuring them like, okay, this is my new partner and you have to like them right away and you have to have a relationship with them right away, because that's not going to happen. And a lot of times I think kids, if they feel that pressure, will run the other way. They'll push back on that. Like, well, no, I'm not going to like this person now because you told me to like them. That's what kids do. And so I think, being able to just be open with them, open in the relationship, communicate with them, invite them into that relationship with you, and give them time and space to adjust to it. And also talking to your new partner and kind of talking about what you want their relationship to look like, and just and not sort of leaving it up to chance, because there is no playbook for this. Every step relationship and blended relationship is different. And so talking to your partner about what their role is going to be in the family, what their relationship they would like their relationship to be with the child, and then building on that slowly. I think that's just, I think the time and the space to let things grow is probably the biggest thing that I can say, that's the most important. In my personal experience, the thing that I think, so I have been married twice, and my second marriage, my ex-husband had 2 daughters, and they were 9 and 11 when I met them. And he and I were in a relationship for quite a while before I actually met them face to face. And he said, my ex would like to meet you before you meet the girls. And I wrote about this in my book, because at first I was like, wait, what? Like, she doesn't, why does she have to give the stamp of approval? And then I kind of took a step back, because I have a daughter as well. And I thought, she just wants to know who's going to be around her daughters. And I completely respect that. And she and I had coffee, and it was awkward, but fine.
Okay.
And it was a little, it's just because it felt sort of like a date, but sort of like a job interview. I didn't really know what to say or what to ask, and I didn't know what she was going to ask. But the most beautiful thing happened after that coffee.
Okay.
She went back to her daughters and told them that she met me, and told them that I was lovely, and that she thought they were really going to like me, and that she was excited for them to meet me. And she gave them permission to let me in. And I mean, I really think that's what that was. I don't know if she realized that that's what she was doing, but that's what she was doing. And so, and it was wonderful, because there was no, she's trying to take the place of my mom. There was no competition. There was just openness. And it was just the most wonderful thing. It was the best gift that she could have ever given me, and taught me something, about how I would proceed when my daughter's dad, if he ever got into a relationship. And so she and I have consequently become really good friends. Even though that relationship ended as well. She and I have become very, very close friends. So it was just, I think that there's just a lot that we can do as adults, as like you were saying about how everybody that's involved is part of that blended family, and really just expanding our definition of what family is, because we have to be open to that.
Okay, great. So thank you for that comment. Before we move to the next segment, We want to go back to Emma. So this is a question for you, Emma. Like I said, you're the legal liaison for this broadcast on today. So here in the US, we had two popular family TV shows where they were blended families. One was Eight is Enough, and the second one was the Brady Bunch. So you had two individuals coming in with children. I don't think that Betty Buckley had any children that came into Eight is Enough, but I know Dick Van Patten, who played the father, did, and what have you. And so we want to talk about the respect, how important it is for the couples to sit down and ensure that the child is respecting the mate.
Well, it's crucial, and it's our job as adults to teach them to treat the other adults as well with respect, especially when they are, well, before they are 10 years old, it might be easier for them to adjust to the blended family because children thrive in cohesive relationships, family relationships, but especially, and you might even have those moments when you hear that you are not my father or you are not my mother, so don't tell me this.
Yeah.
So here is the adults to understand as well that you are the adults, to understand what they are going through. Probably they're having a conflict inside about being loyal to the other parent as well. So they resist to accept that the other adults can also tell them what to do. So the stepfather or mother needs to understand as well this situation and to become more like a friend or a mentor or a supportive adult instead of the disciplinary one. But it has to be in consistency with the biological parents, following the rules. And it has to be very clear, the rule. The respect is served in the house. So very clear, and not let that escalate, because when the children get bigger as well, they can say bigger things. And especially when they're in their teens years, they can be even the behavior can be very manipulative and resistant. So we need to be very careful that the rules are there. We are the best ones to provide the good example with respect and open communication. Will value what you say, what you do, and you will be part of this family, and you will be supported and loved, but always with respect. That's a rule.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome, because I absolutely agree. Sometimes children will get to the point where they get to the, well, I don't know, in our culture, they'll say, the old people used to say in our culture background, you're getting too big for your britches and what have you. And so we have to watch our children, and then also making sure, because you don't see that today, where children are just kind of respecting adults, period, whether it's in a relationship, interracial relationship, or blended family and what have you. And it's important for us to teach them. We're the ones that are on the front line. It's our responsibility. I'm sorry?
In all families, not only in blended families in general. It's true. It's something that we need to make sure that it happens, because we are not helping them by not offering the boundaries.
Absolutely. Yeah, because we're so, we see them do different things when they're children, and we're like, oh, that's so cute. And if they, and I'm serious, I've seen toddlers even disrespect older people and things, and the parent will sit right there and just won't say anything to correct the child. So I think it's just very, very important that we start at an early age, as Inma told us, and we can be able to get a grip on some things as well. Like I said, even with the first scenario, we're not here to judge that mother, we're not here to judge that parent or what have you. It's just, I was giving out some advice and she didn't take it. And so now here we are 20 something years down the road, and you're still tumbling. And so we have to stop and listen and see what we can be able to do, and have a listening ear, because someone is going to get combobulated in the middle. The child is going to be suffering. She's going to be standing right there looking at this new father or this new stepmother or new stepfather, and she's looking at her actual biological parent as to, you could have told me why you didn't share this with me. You was dating. Were you trying to hide this from us? And then then you're going to have the other. And then once the child get out to the other family members, they're going to cause them to speculate too. So then you got a big ball of fire on your hands. And so that's the reason why we got this discussion going, this conversation, so individuals can be able to get some answers and be able to take back control over their families, their households, and their relationships. Excuse me. So we're through with that segment. The next segment we're going to talk about is interracial couples. And so we're going to go back to Josie, and we're going to talk about that. So here's the first scenario. You're going to get the scenario on this one right here. So here's this lady that's on Facebook, and this is a true reality issue. Mm-hmm. She works in a state or government type of entity, but you have African American or mixed racial children, but you don't like it. Your daughter is white, your son-in-law is African American, and everybody that's on social media she trolls them. She'll kick them. She'll talk she's in a very high, powerful position, and you'll end up have to, just block her or report her or what have you. But it's something, and people have went and talked to her, have said all types of things to her and things. Why are you doing this? This don't have anything to do with us. That's between your daughter and your son-in-law. Deal with that situation. And it's like she don't like the children because they are of a mixed descent. So we want to talk about that. And Facebook should have some policies set up too, where to prevent individuals from attacking people that way. And she just came, I don't even know who this lady is. She just came in one of my conversations and just blew the whole thing out. And then that's what she does. She makes a big media thing of it. She takes her authority and she blasts the person. I'm like, let me get away from her, because I do not want to engage in that type of conversation. So we want to talk about that and how important it is, because see, children are watching this too. Josie, they are watching, and like Darlene and I were talking, like, before everybody else came on. Look, I don't care what color you are. You my mama, you my daddy, basically. So we want to talk about that, and we want you to try to, in your terms, to define interracial relationships.
Okay, so just so I'm clear about the woman on Facebook, so the woman on Facebook is the mother of a daughter in an interracial relationship with interracial grandchildren. Mm-hmm. And she's opposed to it, or people are responding to her that they're opposed to her daughter's situation, just so I'm clear.
She's opposed to it, and she's opposed.
And she's being very public with her opposition. Okay. Right. Okay. So my understanding of interracial is just mixed race relationships. So, people of color, indigenous, white, etc. So just mixed race relationships. Sadly, there's so much fear, so sometimes people are overcome with fear. They may have been conditioned in their family of origin to discriminate or to be racist. Wow. They may have been misinformed. They may know nothing about their own true identity, and this is where our faith comes in handy. Right. As Christians, we believe we're all created in God's image, right? Regardless of gender, regardless of race, cultural background, we are all equal in dignity. And when we can accept that our image, being created in God's image, that alone defines us. And when we think about what does it mean, sometimes my students ask me, well, what does it mean to be created in God's image? Well, for sure, number one, we are all equal in dignity, right. That we are all blessed with a gift of self-knowledge and self-awareness, that we can self-regulate, that I can reason, that I can love. Really, only that should define us. But sadly, some people are set up in their own social context, in their own family of origin, to fear the other. to be misinformed,
Okay.
to be conditioned to perceive other people in a way that is inaccurate and is false. So if I do not view you the way God sees you, as a child of God, equal in dignity, with your
Right.
own gifts, with your own abilities,
Right.
I risk fearing you, and then I risk contaminating the thoughts of others. And so I am not going to reason and love without fear. And so that's been my goal in coaching people, is to help them to reason and love without fear. As soon as fear contaminates the way we reason, the way we think, and our intellect, our love decreases, right? There's a beautiful verse in 1 John, where that perfect love casts out fear.
Right.
We need to learn how to love our neighbor. And what does that mean? It means to will the good of the other for the sake of the other. So sadly, some people have been conditioned to discriminate based on fear. For some reason, I think you are different. Maybe I think you are less than. And this woman makes me very sad. There's a wonderful account in scripture where a woman is shamed publicly. And I often remind my students, how would you feel if someone brought out your most vulnerable moment out in the public and shamed you with it? And how people do this on social media all the time. They will shame other people, they project or they process out loud. This woman is doing great damage to her family. And she is hurting her grandchildren. She is hurting her daughter. If anyone already has identity issues, this is going to cause great harm. So it makes me very sad. And I agree with you. She should be called out that what she is doing is very harmful. And she needs help so that she can learn to love her daughter and her son-in-law and her grandchildren, precious gifts from God, and love them the right way and not be harming them. Yeah.
And I think the reason why she kind of attacked me, I was working on assisting a white gentleman on a legal matter, and she knew about it. It was a very high profile case that was in the media in the United States. And once she found out that I was assisting and helping him, then she just went on the rant and just jumped. That's just the way she does. She gets on anybody's case. So hopefully I've been away from her for the last 2 or 3 years, and hopefully she don't find me and I don't find her anymore.
And see, this is self-regulation, right? Self-control is so key with social media. Yeah.
I'm really surprised that no one called her out. I was just I did a little research before this just because I wanted to get some numbers as far as like how people in our country feel about interracial marriage. And it was really interesting because when Gallup polls first asked Americans how they felt about interracial marriage, it was 1958, and only 4% of Americans approved of interracial marriage. Right. And as of 2021, that's up to 94%. So if that's true, if 94% of us really do, approve of interracial marriage, I'm really surprised that she's getting away with being that horrible.
And perhaps too, some of the people perhaps that she's engaging with, they like the contentious behavior. Sometimes if I can go on Fox News and watch on something on Facebook, and then they'll be in there trolling against each other, arguing, combating against. So some people like it. I didn't like that. I'm like, who is this lady? Where did she come from? And so come to find out after you saw some of the other comments, and they was like, now she's getting on Miss Winbush, and for no apparent reason. I'm like, where did she, who is she? And so you can see that something is going on a little bit deeper than just on the outside of what she is saying. She is something that she hates. She wants it to go away. She doesn't want to be affiliated with it. So she takes it to social media to blast or embarrass. And just like Josie was saying, this is going to be harmful to her own grandchildren. It's going to be a harm to them. It's going to be a very harm. So still back at you, Darlene, we want to talk to you as to how you handle your clients. What would you do to encourage your clients in an issue or situation like this when, take for instance, we'll go back to even with blended families and stuff. You have two marriages come together, then they come in and they already have children, and then we're going to make some more kids. But we have an African-American husband and we have a Caucasian wife, but then you have already two to African American children that are already coming into the relationship too. So we want to kind of dissect that if we can. I know that's a lot on your plate, but if we could be able to dissect that and be able to share, because now you have different children coming in. Sometimes children feel that they're favoritized. Oh, I don't have the same color that this person does. And now in some settings and stuff, educational settings, I'm just serious. You have some teachers that they will bring it out to the children.
Right. And I think that's, well, I can't even comment on that teacher. The teacher aspect of it is awful, but I think we're talking about families and especially if we're talking about blending interracial families. I think that definitely, I mean, blending families in general it can be tough. But I think when you're talking about blending interracial families, that adds another layer onto it. Again, I kind of go back to the communication. I think one of the things that really harms us in a lot of ways when it comes to family is just not talking about things, just not calling it out. We're just going to pretend like it's not happening. And like, this is definitely in the country that we live in the climate that we live in, we have to talk about this. This is an issue, you know. Allegedly 94% of people are in favor of interracial marriage, but sometimes it doesn't feel that way. I've been in interracial relationships. My daughter is biracial, and it can definitely not feel that way sometimes. And so I think the way that you guard against your children having a negative impact is to have those conversations. Say, you know, let's talk about, how do you feel about this? Is this weird for you? Is this different for you? What questions do you have about this? And being, you know, just being really open, especially if you have, you know, like you were saying, Black children who are now going to be a part of this blended family, and maybe there's going to be some you know, new children involved, and there'll be mixed race children, and just asking them how they feel about this and what kinds of questions they have, what kinds of worries that they have, and not just having the conversation once. I think that's where sometimes we're like, oh, we talked about it, it's fine now. Right. But revisiting that conversation, you know, how is this for you? And I think that as adults, we sometimes get uncomfortable talking about it. And so we, you know, either shy away from the conversation because we don't want to be uncomfortable, or we project that onto the kids where I don't want to make them uncomfortable, when really it's us that are uncomfortable. Exactly. And we don't want to have the conversations. And so, you know, but I think that if you want children to proceed through life without any shame or fear or negative emotions, then you have to have those conversations. You have to be able to call it out, because there should not be any shame, and there's no shame in feeling whatever they're feeling, and making sure that they know that that's okay. If they're like, you know what, this is weird and kind of uncomfortable, and I'm worried that kids at school are going to make fun, you know, that's okay. And they need to know that it's okay to say that to you, because if they can't say that to you, they can't say that to anybody. And then they're just left having to deal with these really big emotions, and little people can't handle big emotions without our help. And so, you know, they really need to be able to have that space to have those emotions, to express those emotions, and to walk through that with you. And I'm always a fan of therapy for families, as you know, for individuals and for families, and especially through a transition like this. And so as a parent, if you are finding yourself super uncomfortable about it, or just wanting some more support and input on that, you know, find a therapist to talk to. That would be really helpful.
If I could just add to that, yeah, I agree with everything. And it's interesting because Einstein's research is very similar to everything that Emma and Darlene have been saying, that, you know, it takes on average 7 years for blended family to come together, on average 7 years. And, you know, establishing that respect first before there can be love. But she also identifies stages, you know, that the fantasy, when you just meet the person and everything is yummy and delicious, but then that's followed by confusion around everyone's roles, and then crazy time, and then finally time to settle in. So absolutely, it takes time for everyone to come together and to find their place. So very difficult. And to Darlene's point about the emotions, I love that she affirmed that, and helping kids process what they're feeling, because if we don't help them to process what they're feeling, they're going to act on their emotions. You know, and so it may come out or play out as at-risk behavior because they're not coping. You know, that, you know, one person defined trauma this way: an experience that overwhelms our capacity to cope. And since blended families are born of loss, as Emma said, you know, that sometimes that experience is overwhelming their capacity to cope. And if we don't help them process their emotions, and how other people are receiving them or experiencing them, they will act on their emotions. So just wanted to add that. Thank you.
That's fine, because I think it's very important for the parent, as Darlene was saying, to sit down and talk to the children, not just one time, but more than that, especially if they have to go to school. That's really going to be a very, very big target for interracial children. And okay, you have this we're gonna say this African American son or mixed son that's going to school and coming out of the same house with a little white girl. That needs to be discussed. I'm serious. They need to sit down. They need to be mentored and talk to. And then, so guess what? When I get ready to go to school, I may not be strong enough to let it roll off my shoulder if someone is making negative comments against me, but I do remember what my mother told me. Or I do remember what my father told me, and what have you. And I think when we encourage families, I think that makes a big, big difference. Just think about a child going to school and they don't have security. That's what Emma was saying. Security. They don't have the backing from their parents. Now they're out there without a jacket on, going to school, full, wide open, and they do not have their. I don't even know what she's talking about. Why is she calling me these names for? They don't have a clue of what's going on, because someone has dropped the ball of communicating and collaborating with the children. So having a family hour or family time at the household would be very, very great for that. So
normalizing it. I'm sorry. I was
go ahead.
Normalizing your family unit and explaining. From the time that my daughter was little, we talked about how different everyone's family is. And so normalizing the fact that, yeah, this is what our family looks like. And so you could, like, the kid comes to school and they're making fun, like, oh yeah, that's my, I never say step. I always say bonus. So yeah, that's my bonus sister. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
We live together. I have 2 bonus daughters who I love. And they call me their bonus mom. I just feel like the connotation is just, it makes me smile, because I think that it is a bonus. It's like, it's like a gift with purchase.
It's beautiful
relationship. And then I got this extra really cool thing. And so, yeah, being able to, if you have those conversations, like, yeah, this is the way our family, this is the makeup of our family, and it's just as good as every other family. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, it's different, but different's not bad. And I think that's where, just kind of, and just even that phrase of just, that can be so helpful for kids across the board with a lot of things. Different's not bad. Yes, my family's different, yes, I'm different. That's not bad. That doesn't make me any less than. And so just being able to make them feel confident and secure in that, normalizing their situation gives them that armor that you were talking about, so that they are protected when they go out. So it doesn't matter if, somebody says something like, yep, this is what my family is. Isn't it cool? What does your family look like? And just kind of I love the questions too, kind of putting it back on them. And so.
And just to add one little thing that, research has shown that parent support is the key factor that is going to make the difference. So, and all the stories, Diane, that you were saying that you remembered from your mother or your grandmother, that is the narratives, the ones that we have heard from our parents or grandparents, are the ones that keep us stronger in the difficult times, when we remember the stories that they told us. Well, this is what I did when I faced this situation. So, and just to add about the interracial relationships and the children, it's so important to teach them that they are not losing anything. They are gaining something different. They are creating something different. And we can see race as fluid. Something is not fixed. We are on the way of creating something different, something new, and we don't need to be scared of that. And this is probably what is happening to this lady. As you said at the beginning, that it might come from fear. And it's a pity, because it's so damaging for these children. Children need to have the sense of they belong to a group, to his family, and this lady is not allowing that to happen. And it's this rejection physically hurts. So it's
You can imagine what her Christmas gift is going to be from her grandkids. Probably a pot of ashes. For her to sit there and do that, for her to behave like that. Why would you do that? I mean, now she does not bring it out in regards to, well, she didn't, because I don't know where she's at now, thank God. But she did not bring it out as about her children, but someone else did. Someone else knew her background, her lifestyle, and they brought it out. You target people, you target African Americans simply because of the fact you have children, African American grandchildren, descendants that you do not want to couple with and commingle with. And that's kind of sad. And it wasn't racist or anything. It was more biased and judgmental. I guess if that sounds right. So we're through with that segment, and thank everyone for your contributions on that. So the next one and the last one we want to talk about is here in the U.S. As I stated before, we had a 6-year-old African American child. I think all of the reports are not out. A few days ago, he took a gun and he went to school and he shot his teacher. He shot this teacher, okay? And so we want to talk about some of that in regards to what can transpire at home that perhaps maybe can cause a child to react out like that, and they're calling the teacher the hero. She's a hero. She put her hand up. It supposedly went through her hand, and then it went through her chest and what have you. And she's a hero. But my thing is, we just did a case study a couple of weeks ago entitled "Beyond the Classroom," and so we had a professor that was on the show with us to be able to share with us what goes on beyond the classroom. My first thing about that is that someone should have been a little bit more intelligent. What could have occurred between the student? A student is just not going to bring a gun from the house and shoot a teacher just blatantly like that. Something else could. My thing is, something else had to have gone on for that child to get to that level where they felt that they had to bring a gun and shoot it. That does not make the issue right. Does not make the issue right what the child done. They're thinking about charging the parents, depending on if the parents was aware. I think the news report was saying whether the gun was concealed and the child could not get access to the gun. And so, of course, our prayers are out for everybody, but we want to talk about and discuss at home. And we're going to start with Josie in regards to that. This is a critical case. It is so very sensitive. Like I said, we're not here to judge, but I don't see any heroes in this. We need to stop that. There's no heroes in this. The teacher is not a hero. I don't care if she put her hand up or what have you. She's not a hero. My thing is, when we are taking education classes, we're taking child development classes. It teaches the individual to be the bigger person and what have you. And so my thing is, I felt that something had to trigger that child off. And they said it was an altercation. And then even when, after they had moved the teacher out the way, someone else came in the room to try to calm the child down, and they said they assaulted him. But the 6-year-old child probably didn't assault them. They were just probably still fighting back with the teacher as to what they had already done. A sad case.
Very, very sad. Yeah, it very sad. And I published on this topic in terms of factors that influence human behavior, early childhood development, and kind of lesson 101 in moral theology is we can judge an action, we can never judge a person. Right. We can never judge their intention. We don't know their level of freedom. We don't know how well their conscience is formed. We don't know their early formative years. And so basically, when it comes to human behavior, in order to understand a person and his or her actions and their level of freedom in terms of how free they are when they make a decision, and by freedom, I mean freedom to reason, freedom to self-regulate. You'd have to know their prenatal history. You'd have to know their postnatal history, their early formative years, their genetics, their strengths, their weaknesses. And so sadly with this child, we don't know, was he born into trauma? You know, was he born into a place of fear? Did he not feel safe himself? Was his conscience well formed? And we know in order for conscience to form, we usually check around age 3 to see if a child feels remorse. You know, we can check to see if they feel empathy around age 3. We start to check for self-regulation around age 3. Even a mother's stress level while she's pregnant can have an impact on fetal brain development.
Oh, okay.
So if the mom is very stressed, especially between weeks 22 and weeks 25 of the pregnancy, where the fetal brain is developing, it can have an impact on fetal brain development.
Wow.
We know that prefrontal cortex is still developing right up until our 20s, and the part of the brain that helps us to self-regulate, to know the difference between right and wrong. And so we cannot judge this child. You know, we don't know the factors that may have influenced behavior. He may have been acting on his emotions. He may have been very afraid. And so that's what I would have to contribute to this is we'd really have to know all of that to understand this child, and just pray for him and his family, and how much fear there must have been that may have inspired such actions, that he may need healing, he may need support and resources. Yeah,
I absolutely agree. And Darlene, you know, in the media, they are calling this child a criminal. He's a thug. He's all kind of he's already started on the wrong pattern and what have you, which can, you know, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, according to the media, the news media, he's in a mental institution. 6 years old.
He's 6. He's a baby.
Yeah.
He's a baby. I mean, we definitely need to be talking to him and trying to understand, you know, what is going on with him. But the word that keeps jumping out at me is context. You know, what else is going on in his world? We need to understand his world, because clearly it's not good. Clearly, you know, we need to be, you know, and not to blame anyone, but we need to understand what is going on with his parents. What, you know, I think that that's the wrong thing to be focusing on here if we're trying to figure out who's to blame in this situation. It's a tragic, horrible situation for everyone involved, the child and the teacher. And we need where we need to focus is understanding what happened, understanding the context, what was going on in the classroom. You know, this isn't an unprovoked thing. So what happened in the classroom that led up to that? You know, we need to get some context around that. We need to get some context around, you know, what's happening in his home, and how has he learned at all at 6 years old how to cope when things are hard? Because my guess is no. And that probably reflects the fact that maybe nobody in their home has coping skills, and maybe he just lives in, you know, in a space that's just chaotic all the time. You know, for him to be able to find a gun and bring it to school and knew about it, I'm gonna guess there's probably a lot of chaos going on in his world. So you know, again, I'm just back to that word context of, you know, really just, you know, as opposed to focusing on whose fault it is, we need to focus on trying to understand this, because you know, he needs help. He needs help, and the family needs help. They need help, and they need support, and they need understanding. I'm very happy that it sounds like the teacher is going to be okay. That's a thing. So that's amazing. And I just, I too just pray for all of them. And I really just pray for the people that are working around the situation, that the focus can be on support and help and understanding and understanding the context, and not punishment. Because like you were saying, the prefrontal cortex isn't even developed until he is 6 years old.
Yeah.
He is 6 years old. I guarantee you there was no forethought as to what happens next after I do this. He's not capable. No. He's literally not capable. Yeah. So we have to really get some understanding around that.
Yeah, and the importance of emphasizing early nurture, like those first 3 years are key for early nurture consistency in human touch. And sadly, we don't know, but this child may have been set up to be less free in life if he didn't get that early nurture. And then maybe his parents may have come, you know, similar pattern, and then we just hand on a similar pattern. Yeah.
Down trauma.
Just to that, I completely agree with everything, and I come from the education field, and we always said in schools, and especially with children who didn't talk or who didn't speak, behavior is always communication. We might see the peak of the iceberg, but we need to understand what is underneath to clarify what happened. And I really hope this family get the support as well, because there is something more serious going on around it. For a child 6 years old with a gun going to school, that something more serious is happening. And I think it's an excellent lesson from this pain to learn from everybody. Yes, in this situation, and it doesn't happen again. Why this could happen?
Right.
Absolutely, because I'm pretty sure all of them is going to need some counseling. I'm pretty sure the teacher too. Pretty sure she's going to need some counseling too. From behind this, you come to school, and she's probably going to be, traumatized. They're going to be traumatized and what have you. But my thing is just for the 6-year-old child. It's sad. I don't care what color he would have been, if he was white, black, Indian, or Hispanic. It does not matter. That is too young to have that type of load of pressure on you like that. That's a load for you to carry. That's something that has built up in this child, and he released it all in one shot. And so that's a lot for a child to be carrying that type of pressure or emotional stress. I don't know what it is. And of course, they're trying to conceal it. They're supposed to. They're trying to conceal it until they get all the facts. And I'm pretty sure he's talking in that mental institution. I'm pretty sure he is. And it's going to come out as to what really, because you have counselors, professional counselors now, and psychologists. They can get to a child, especially if they're 5, 6, 7 years old and stuff. If they have to come in there and give them a laptop, or let them watch Scooby-Doo, or let them watch Zoe or something like that, they could be able to get to that child and get to the crevice and the nuts and bolts of what caused him to be able to do that. And so I feel that it's not going to be any winners when it comes out. I'm just sorry to say that. I don't think, especially when it comes, to the parents and what have you. But we're just sharing our thoughts. We're not here to be critical or what have you and things. We were not there, and my heart. I'm really praying for that child. I just kind of grieved a couple of days ago, over and over and over and over and over. And I said, this is not right, God. I said, you're going to have to heal this child. This child needs some healing. The parents, I'm not for sure if they're going to need any healing. Just like Darlene said, you just don't know what's going on in the house. Probably, Yosemite Sam, boom, pow, boom, pop. We don't know. And so the child is going to be traumatized for a while, and he's probably going to need some more additional counseling, probably in the days to come as well. So,
And there's trauma to the kids who were there. I'm thinking of, he came, there's other kids in the classroom, there's other teachers in the classroom. I think there's a lot of trauma to go around in this scenario. I think a lot of people are going to need some support.
Yeah. Just boo-hoo would make you cry a little bit. But anyways, thank you everyone for being with us on today for this segment with interracial couples and relationships and blended families. But before we let you go, of course, we want you to be able to share with the audience of a little bit more about you, as to how they can be able to find you on social media. If you would like to share that, any of your books that you have published, you can be able to share that, as well as any upcoming TEDx speaking engagements that you have, or anything that you're working on, projects or what have you, where the audience can be able to continue to follow you after the show. So we're going to start with Inma, and you can be able to share that with us right now.
Yes. Well, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me again, because I've loved the experience.
Me too. I've loved all of you.
Really. So, and I'm Inma Gonzalez, coach specialist in separation and divorce. My website is inmagonzalez.com. And I also have a podcast in Apple and Spotify, but they are in Spanish. Cómo recuperarse de una separación y divorcio.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay. Josie?
Yeah, I have a website, josephinelombardi.com. And so you can access my social media on the website. I have a video page, a book page. But I do have a book, Experts in Humanity, that addresses a lot of these issues. So if anyone's interested in learning more about prenatal, postnatal genetics, there's a section on blended families as well. So yeah, Experts in Humanity. And there's a link on my website if you wanted to order. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Darlene?
Yeah, I have a website as well, darlenetaylor.com. So you can reach me there. There's more information about me, information about my coaching. Like I said, I do parenting coaching and classes. There's some speaking engagements. There's, information about the speaking engagements. I do have a book. It's not about us. Everyone thinks the cover on the picture is my daughter because it looks like her, but it's not. But that's my companion book. But the book also has a companion guided journal to go with it. So those are all of it. And there's links to that on the website as well. And then on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, it's under the Darlene Taylor. So that's where you can find me.
Great. You all have been a wonderful panel on today. And so, of course, to our listeners and viewers, we have unpacked a lot. As like I stated, we're not here to be biased or judgmental in anyone's particular situation. We're just here to just unpack things that goes on in daily life, daily families, daily marriages, daily, whether it's separation, divorce, it goes on, period. It just goes on. So thank you once again for being our guest on today. And everyone have a wonderful weekend. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, wonderful panelists. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Absolutely. Wonderful to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.